Live from the Talking Joe Studios, it's Talking Joe.
Talking Joe is on the air.
Hey, it's me, Mark, and welcome to Talking Joe, the G.I. Joe comics podcast. Now, today we are looking at G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero, Jinx, issue 1, the Silent Missions series. That's a mouthful. Released Wednesday, April the 9th, 2025. Now, I will not be looking at this issue alone. I will be joined by both my regular co-presenter, Tim Finn, and also the artist of this issue. So let's start off by bringing in the man himself. It's a real American Tim. It's Tim Finn.
Hello, Mark, and hello, listeners and viewers. And let's bring in our guest.
Dan-dani and Dan, dan-dani and Dan, dan-dani and Dan, dan-dani and Dan. Here we go. It's Danny.
Hello,
Hi, Danny, and
everybody.
welcome to Talking Joe.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Perfect.
Danny, I'm in Boston on the East Coast of the States. Mark, where are you?
I am in Brighton on the south coast of England. And Danny, you are?
I'm in Greece, and I'd like to say sorry for my English at this point. You're going to experience my Greek English, so get ready.
Everything is great.
So yeah, hello from Athens.
I've got no excuse. I've been to Greece a couple of times, and it's like the vocabulary just leaves my head the moment I step off the plane. So it's like
So you have experience.
Kalispera and all of that kind of stuff. But yeah,
You have
language
experienced
isn't my
the
strength.
Greekness already.
The Greekness, yeah. Greek. I think the Greek people are a lovely, friendly, idiosyncratic people.
We're all over the place. Greeks are all over the place, seriously. We are passionate, we are loud,
Mm-hmm.
and we like to talk a lot. I don't know. But okay. We're good people.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And are you in Athens?
Yes. In the city center. I live in the city center.
Uh-huh. So it's where it's quite a lot. You sort of in the midst of it, lots of lively things happening just out the window.
Well, yeah, I mean, okay, Greece is a lively country, but everything is so intense. Everyday life, politics, social, everything is really intense. But it's also really beautiful. So
Mm-hmm.
there is a beauty in all this chaos, which we hope everyone who visits likes. It is an experience. I don't know. How were you? Like, did you have a good time here every time you came?
Yeah. I mean, mostly I did the English tourist thing of just finding somewhere nice with a hotel, a swimming pool, and a beach. So it's
Where
not
have
too
you
much
been?
ultra immersions.
Where have you been?
It's near Thessaloniki.
You've been in the north.
Mm-hmm. You can see
Thessaloniki is the best city in Greece
Uh-huh.
for me. I love it. Even though I'm from Athens, I love Thessaloniki.
Don't let your neighbours find out. But I guess Dan, where should we start? Let's sort of just as an introduction to your you and your career as an artist. G.I. Joe readers who just buy G.I. Joe comics will be less familiar with you because this is your first foray into the world of G.I. Joe, but not the first time that you've been working with Dan Watters, because you've had two big projects with him before, Coffin Bound and Arkham City: The Order of the Worlds.
And we've done some short stories as well. Yeah. No, that was the whole point of this issue of G.I. Joe, bringing the coffin bound thing back together, because also Brad is coloring, Brad Simpson. So we were all, the three of us, getting back together, and I don't believe we've gotten back together since Coffin Bound. So it was quite nostalgic. it was great. Yeah. Even though it was G.I. Joe, I just need to say this so I get it out of my chest at this point. I know nothing of G.I. Joe, nothing. So
that is not surprising or upsetting to us. We don't have a litmus test where someone has to know G.I. Joe or be a fan in order to write it or draw it. And maybe people who haven't written it and draw it bring a whole new perspective. And also, just sort of from a sort of a mercenary perspective, if someone can write a good ninja story or infiltration story or escape story, they could write, one Star Wars story or one Batman story or one G.I. Joe story. So again, there's no test, there's no standard that you have to pass.
Good to know.
At least for us. I can't speak about the rest of the internet.
Well,
and I think.
What? Sorry, go on.
So if you happen to be born in like in the late 70s, early 80s, that kind of thing, there's no, you just couldn't explore life without encountering G.I. Joe. And I guess fortunately for you, Danny, you've still got your youth, and so as a result, you just missed that peak G.I. Joe period when it was it was in the comics, on TV, the toys were all on the shelves, that kind of thing. So I think you've got a good excuse for kind of not being quite so acquainted of G.I. Joe. But did you have any concept, any experience, any idea of G.I. Joe, or was it just off your cultural radar?
Well, I knew that he's the all-American hero. That's it. No, I can't even recall if we had the animation in Greece growing up. So maybe I was born in 1992. Maybe people who were born, maybe we had it sooner than that. I really don't remember having it in my child years, my early years. But I'm really also not into that military whole thing in general. So I was never attracted to that franchise. But I really enjoyed this issue, and I don't believe I've drawn anything like a ninja. First of all, I was really happy that it was about Jinx. So Alex Antone, who was the editor, he gave us the concept very strategically, I think. Yeah. So yeah, it was also a first timer for me, and I really enjoyed the whole thing. Also because of the whole Coffin Bound getting together, the Coffin Bound thing. But it's the whole story that Dan wrote, that it's the whole thing, the 22nd full adventure. By the way, I also hate drawing action comics. I hate. It's not my go-to place, but I always end up enjoying the action comics a lot. So maybe I should reconsider things a bit.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you do it very well. So yeah, I think yeah, definitely can stretch yourself. But yeah, it's funny though that I've got a bit of a personal history of just sort of trying to get artists to draw G.I. Joe for the first first time, and I've got a sketchbook that I often take to conventions and get people to, or ask people if they can do me a G.I. Joe related sketch, and like Wes Craig has done a G.I. Joe sketch for my brother, and before then he
Where's
hadn't
the
drawn any.
best?
And Tom Riley had done a G.I. Joe piece again for my brother, and that was the first one that he had done. And I was that close to getting to asking you to do a G.I. Joe sketch
I would
before.
be happy to do one.
So yeah, just sort of think time and money got in the way of, and possibly a full commission list got in the way, but otherwise. At one of the nice conventions, you would have been tapped up to do probably some sort of G.I. Joe related sketch for me if I had been able to get on that list.
It would
So just
be
missed out.
No, we still got time. I will smoke.
So yeah,
it's okay. We said it's okay. Sure.
Okay. It's okay. I don't think the listeners are gonna get the 4D 5D experience.
Don't smoke though, kids. It's bad. It's bad for you. But I will smoke. Okay. I asked. Okay.
So let's you touched on a few bits there, but let's talk about Alex Antone and him reaching out to you with the concept, because so was this the first time that you'd sort of interacted with Alex? Was it a bit of a cold call, or had you talked about working together before?
No, I think we've talked again before. I have a really bad memory. I don't remember. I think because I last year I did some covers for the creature from the Black Lagoon. I think
I
it
see.
was
Yeah.
with
Mm-hmm.
Alex. I don't remember, but I'm pretty sure we've talked with Alex before. But I was really happy when he contacted me. He asked if we were willing to do this thing, and whenever someone contacts me for work, I always want to do stuff. My only problem is time. It's always time that I won't have time to do that. I won't have time to do the other thing, and I'm really grateful because they were really elastic, open,
Flexible
to give me some more flexible. Thank you. You say my Greek. They were really flexible to give me some extra time, because I was working on another project at that moment. So they gave me an extra month to finish it in order for us to do this thing. So yeah.
And did he reach out to you as Dan and Danny together, the team, or did he come to you and you were like, oh, let me bring in Dan to help with the G.I. Joe stuff?
Well, I think that the concept of this series is like artists doing the thing, but of course I informed him that, look, I really don't know anything about G.I. Joe. So let's do this all together. Dan has great experience with this. He's worked on it. And everyone was really excited just to bring the whole team together. And I'm really happy that it ended that way. To be honest, I wouldn't be able to do it either in another way. Because I don't know anything about G.I. Joe. But now I do know some stuff about Jinx, at least.
So here's you and Mr. Frank Miller drawing sort of cool ninja characters before. So on the left on screen is Deadly Little Miho in silhouettes, and Danny. Is that? I can't work out the date. Is that 2012 or 2020? Anyway, it's a Danny. It's a Danny. It's a Danny sketch of Miho. And when I think when we spoke to Alex and about this project, he was like, just think of like that Frank Miller style of G.I. Joe from Sin City. It's going to be spectacular, essentially,
Did he say?
and sort of something along those lines. But he did say, here's a direct quote from Alex. DANI and Dan Watters brought their A+ game to this issue. DANI was born to draw ninjas, and this issue's inventive use of the page turn just might deliver Jinx's most memorable adventure yet. So I just wanted to, high praise indeed. So I wanted to talk to you just a little bit about like kind of your artistic influences and things like that before we get into things. So to what extent kind of in that melting pot of influence sort of does the likes of Frank Miller sort of play in terms of inspiring your work?
A lot. Obviously, Frank Miller is a really great influence and inspiration. Also, Eduardo Riso, because I didn't study comics or anything like. I was when I was studying in university, I studied sculpturing, which has also given me a perspective of light and depth, light and shadow, and the volumes, and it really shows to me, at least. I know how I was drawing before studying, because I studied for 5 years in fine arts, and I understand how it has influenced my whole perspective, anyway. But regarding to comics, I think that my comic school was reading and really analyzing 100 Bullets and Hellboy. Just to understand how it works and how you can make a story visually, because it's like a puzzle a bit. Every time you get a script or you want to draw something, a sequential thing, it's like a puzzle that you need to unwind. How is this the word?
Unlock.
Help me out. To solve, anyway. And I think that these people solve it greatly. So it was a really big school for me reading these comics, and of course Sin City, and Sergio Topi for me is a great influence. I feel like I've been saying the same things every time, but that's it, people.
Well,
Sorry.
if it's true, it's true.
Okay, so for our listeners who don't know Sergio Topi, I think it's Magnetic has 6 or 7 hardcovers of his work in print right now. And you also mentioned Hellboy. So these artists are, at least 3 of these 4 artists are dealing with high key, like contrasty, very graphical approaches to light and shadow. And you mentioned sculpture. Was your sculpture figural? Was it many different kinds of sculpture? Was it naturalistic and anatomical? Was it abstract?
Well, in the School of Fine Arts in Athens, it has a little bit of everything, and especially the professor that I had, his name is Nikos Stranos, he's a great sculptor, yes, artist in Greece. He was really open for his students to experiment with many things. So even if I was doing sculpturing, he was also open with comics. So I would also, because at that time I was doing self-published work here in Greece, and we would try to combine my self-published work, my comics, with the sculpturing, and he was really helpful with that, and he would show me different artists. Also, for example, we would also do have a model, a live model, and do really realistic stuff. But he would be open for anything. So I ended up doing a little bit of everything, and he would show us different artists according to what everyone's interests were, and we were. It was mostly experimenting, so a little bit of everything. It's this university. It's really interesting because it's really hard to get in, and they want really specific things. But when you enter, you already have a level of perception. I don't know. So then you just open up, and some people go to a more conceptual thing. I don't know. I don't know how it is now, because okay, arts move on and they change a lot. But at that point, it's been nearly 15 years. It was really open with everything. So I feel like what fine arts gave me, that these 5 years, was a kind of sight that you can analyze art, and you can move into this thing. I don't know how to describe it, but I hope you get it.
Yeah. I think comics was in your DNA from an early age. I heard you describe before that you used to get comics and you didn't know how they would end, or you didn't like how they ended,
I
so
didn't
you
like
draw your
how
own.
they ended. Yes, I would draw a different ending. My mom actually she showed me a couple of years ago one of the first comics. It wasn't a comic, but it kind of was. It was an illustration with speech balloons. Okay, my parents are nudists. Is this how you call it?
I think so.
When you go to the beach, but for
Yeah.
yes,
All in the
so
nude, yeah.
yes, exactly. So we were when we were at the beach, I would draw a lot, and I drew a woman with really big breasts, and a man that his eyes were drooling like that, and he was saying "po, great something." I don't remember. So my mom considers that this is my first comic ever when I was a kid, and yeah, I would read comics and like magazines, because we didn't you couldn't have access. You didn't have access in many things in Greece, comics wise. We had access in many European. We had magazines that would have like anthology magazines with European mostly and local artists. So I would read and I would draw, and then I started just participating in contests. We had a magazine here, a comics magazine, that you could take it once a week with a newspaper that was called Nine, because it's the ninth art comics. And they would organize contests. So the first time I participated, I was 14 years old, and I would send stuff every year, and then I did my self-published work. That was it. That's how I entered.
Your origins, yeah.
Yes, the origin.
The origin story.
Yes.
I was just saying, while we're talking about Frank Miller and influences, one of my favorite stories from Frank Miller, well, actually, one of my favorite stories, full stop, was Sin City Silent Night, which it looks like that. Which, looking at this issue, there was a couple of bits that reminded me of that, which was the like the snow at the end when they were outside, all of the sort of the big, fluffy snowflakes coming down. And I was like, yeah, that sort of reminds me of that, a little bit of that Frank Miller snow. But then I also thought, Silent Night, that's a silent book. So I wondered if that sort of that Silent Night was a direct kind of thing that you were thinking about at any point for this, or maybe just a in the back of your brain, perhaps.
Yeah, sometimes, to be honest, consciously it wasn't, but sometimes you have things in your mind that you don't realize, and they just flow on the paper, and now someone shows you something and you're like, there it came from. It came from there. But yes, this happens. I guess it happens with every creator that some things stay with you and they shape your creativity in a way, and they just flow out of you without even understanding.
Yeah.
Mm. So maybe this is what happened here. I don't know.
You're drawing on standard size Bristol for this issue.
It's A3 plus. A3 size. Yeah, it's a big one.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's not a Bristol though.
Okay.
Okay. First of all, I'm really bad with technology. I'm so bad. I cannot draw anything digitally. I feel like I'm working when I'm doing something digitally. Whereas when I'm drawing on paper, I really enjoy it, and I can be creative. But so I always avoid it. So paper is really important for me because I want to enjoy it. And I found these they're recycled papers. They're called it's crash corn or crash citrus or crash grape. I imagine they just add things of a part of this fruit inside. That's why they're called like this. But they're really grainy a bit. They are a bit dirty, and the crash corns, they are a bit yellowish. When I scan them and I manipulate them a bit, they become totally black and white. But the originals are a bit yellowish usually. And I've had this. Someone asked. I drew a commission for them, and they thought it was a print when I sent it because I had already uploaded it. I understand it. Okay, it happens because I had uploaded the manipulated version, which is black and white, on my Instagram page, and they had seen it. And when they received it, it was yellowish, and they thought it wasn't the original, or something had happened with the paper. Maybe it was exposed in some elements or something. But no, most of my papers are a bit yellowish or thing.
Well, it's quite high praise as well if you're looking at a piece of original art and you think that's so slick. Is that real? Is that the original, or is this?
Yeah, you could think like that. Yeah, that's a great way of thinking.
And are you likely to be selling your original pages for Jinx? Is that going to go to an art dealer or to conventions, or are you going to hold on to them?
Yes, I'm represented by Kinetic, so I will be. My apartment is tiny. It's this room and my bedroom. I don't have space for originals here, so I just sent them away. I cannot hold original art here.
I'm on the Kinetic Collectibles website, and I'm seeing your pages for Creep Show and Poison Ivy and some Wonder Woman. Can we talk about how you and Dan, how you started figuring this out?
Mhm.
How, I mean, okay, from Alex Antone, the editor, did you had Jinx, and then did you have a sentence or just Jinx?
Jinx.
Nothing.
Okay, Jinx, 20 pages,
Jinx.
no words. And then
Yes.
did you start having ideas and you sent them to Dan? Did Dan Watters start having ideas and he sent them to you? Did you get on a call and brainstorm together?
Well, look, with Dan, I think because we are also really good friends, and we really think alike, and it's a really organic process every time. Um, we don't need to say much. So it was, okay, Jinx. Bilibili, we were texting. Jinx, yes. Action, yes. So fast, something, let's just do total action, yes, okay. Escape, action, explosions.
Who had
And
the idea for
yes, and then Dan wrote it because I don't know anything. Like I don't know the soldiers, whatever, not soldiers. Who are these people?
characters?
The troopers.
The troopers. Thank you. That was the word. So it's and okay. When the first time we worked together, which was for Coffin Bound, we spent a lot of time, many times, just talking, video calling, exchanging, just getting to know each other a lot because we knew each other before, but and we had bonded over drinks, and we wanted to make a comic together. So then we just started that exchanging ideas. We talked a lot about movies and music and death, everything. So we've talked so much with that person. We are on the same page on the creative thing and what we want to say. So everything, even the short stories we've done ever since, it's I know every time I read a script from Dan, I know what he wants, and it's a connection. I don't know how to describe it in a better way, but I
I
feel
think
every time I feel like home working with Dan, creating something, and it's not working. It ends up not feeling like working.
I think he said that that after after getting the project and having those initial discussions, that the basic story from his side came together quite quickly. That
Mm.
like here you go. So how fully formed was that? And I guess the key storytelling device was this 20 seconds, 1 second per page. Was that quite quick into the process? It's like, okay, what about 1 page per second?
Yeah. No, that was the whole idea. Like, okay, it's 20 pages. Okay, we have 20 seconds. 1 second per page. Explosion. So, sorry, that's a total spoiler.
That's okay. We tend to be a bit spoilery here, so
No,
sort
it's
of like
already out. It's not my
yeah,
fault
yeah,
if
yeah.
you haven't read it yet. So, but yeah, that was the whole concept, to do something quick and intense.
Mm.
Because you that was the thing. It was like we couldn't add any words.
in the back of the book, there's these little the sketchbook pages, which essentially has, I think it has all 20 pages with
I
the
didn't
little
know
thumbnails,
this.
which
I
is,
didn't
you know, great
know.
to see because I love the behind the scenes stuff.
I didn't
But
know these were going to be published.
How big are
Okay.
these?
Yeah, these are my layouts, people. And
mhm.
these are quite neat. When we were working on Coffin Bound, I cannot I can't imagine how Dan he understands my scribbles. It's scribbles. What's this called? Sketches.
Doodles, yeah, sketches, yeah, sort of
He understands it. He gets it.
thumbnails.
And these I try to be really neat for the layouts. I didn't
Because
know these
I
were.
guess these had to be reviewed by like editorial and potentially even
Yeah.
like Hasbro
Mm.
to okay them. So I guess they had to be neat enough that other people could you know understand what it is that you were trying to do.
Well, we in sequentials we hadn't worked with Alex again before,
Mhm.
so yes, I had to be a bit more um, in detail, more meticulous with this.
Mhm.
So
And
yes,
yeah, between your thumbnails and the sort of the final pages as well, they were very close. There wasn't too much change, so it must have been the ideas must have come to you quite fully formed.
yeah. Well, every time when I get the script, first thing I do every panel that I read, I usually don't read the full script from the beginning. I just go with it, and while I'm reading it, I just do sketches from each panel. The first image that comes to mind when I'm reading it, and then I try to fit these in a page and a sequence that makes sense. So these layouts are the second part, I would say, before the after the first one that I just sketched the scenes.
Okay.
Yeah.
hmm
um
And you
so
talked about
when
look.
sorry, sorry.
You talked
Go
about
on.
looking at the script. Did Dan give you like a full script for this? Was it did it end up being close to a traditional script or was it
um
simpler than that?
no, it's as every dance script.
Okay.
Um, although every time I in every script with every writer that I work with, um, I if something feels like, oh, you know what, I would like actually to add an extra panel, or maybe these two in my style would fit as one panel. Is it okay if I do it this way? I don't feel hesitant to ask to propose if these
hmm
are okay too. So maybe sometimes I add extra panels or an extra beat or connect things. And this is the magic with comics and working with teams that you have this back and forth, and it's a team, a team play, team process. So yeah, but
Is it a
after
good?
the layouts, these are the final layouts somehow. Although the second page, this one, the 0019, you can see there is an
Yeah.
extra panel because I revived. There were revisions in this page. I added one, as you can see in the final. But usually this is after I've um, shown the layouts and we've agreed on these. There are not many differences
hmm
with the final one.
I suspect Tim was about to ask the same thing as me, which is that while we're talking about teams, is it a good time to talk about the other member of the team in terms of Brad Simpson on colors?
Yeah. Did you have direction for Brad Simpson on color, like light blue and light blue, or was that his idea?
Well, okay. We had one issue in Coffin Bound. If I recall correctly, it was the seventh issue that we did. We experimented and we did this thing that we had really limited color palette. We did something quite similar, but not similar to this. And we thought we were thinking that we wanted something like that. So at first it was only using red, but we really liked because we had already done the cover of this issue before, and he had added that blue, and we liked it. So we said we just followed the cover, but it's Brad is that's the cover. Brad is really great with anything that you will throw to him every page. Even if you let him loose, he will do magic. And here, the only direction was no, seriously, he's fantastic. And we keep on working with Brad on many covers and some short stories. We always work together. I love how he's drawing because I feel like with I okay, my process every time I ink a page is that if you leave it like that, black and white, it can stand on its own. It doesn't need color. That's my I draw my comics just to be black and white. So I'm you need someone that can is confident enough to color a lot of blank space and work with negative space as well. So and Brad, we've worked together a lot. I think he gets it always. And yeah, the only direction here was okay. Let's just use because it's also called the color of danger. Let's just use red. Okay, we're lucky enough that Jinx has red, and it's quite intense. And just keep a limited color palette, and it's all Brad. That was the only thing we asked for. He's great at doing anything.
Yeah, I mean it's I agree that he really he does a great job here and he really complements your art, and I imagine any other colorist would come up with a completely different result potentially. That particularly when I think when there's such a bold art style with the high contrast and a lot of negative space, a lot of white there to fill. Yeah, I think it's a big ask of a colorist, and I don't think, and I think potentially you could get some colorists who could, rise to the challenge, but some who might really struggle with that challenge as well.
I don't know, but yeah, I guess. I'm not sure how people who read GI Joe always read GI Joe how this issue would look to them. I don't know. What do you guys think?
GI Joe has most GI Joe comics have a traditional American adventure style, but because the previous publisher had several different series that had different audiences and different tones in mind, there was actually a lot of experimentation in art Some was more realistic, some was more stylized, some was more cartoony. Some was a little bit more in this direction with blocky graphical shapes, black ink, and negative space and white. And I think the average GI Joe reader is much more ready for this, if this is going to be too different for them now than 10 or 20 years ago. Like, this would have been really shocking in the 1980s. It's just really striking
No. Okay.
now. But also, again, I think there are people who only read GI Joe and don't read other comics. But if you pay attention to Marvel and DC, they have been publishing miniseries the last few years with limited color palettes, like black and white and red. The Darth Vader one, there was a Batman one, there was a Harley Quinn one, there was a Superman one that was just blue and red. And so that's the kind of stuff to the side, or that a lot of audiences might ignore because it's a prestige project. But I think the average GI Joe reader is more ready for this now.
Okay.
And it's just going to look cool and different to them. And maybe a little bit of an acquired taste, but not like, no. Yeah. And the whole nature of silent missions, right? Like, the issue already has no words, and then it has this added device with the countdown. So I imagine a lot of people would say, huh, or cool, but not like, ew.
Throw it in the trash.
Not that.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Silent Missions sort of series, one of the interesting things that it's doing is it's giving a spotlight to some people, a character. So some people's favorite character is getting their own issue. It's doing this thing with no words, but I think probably more significantly is it's sort of giving the opportunity for creators who might not otherwise work on GI Joe an opportunity to tell a story and to give a bit of a showcase to, this is GI Joe in my style. And so I think this issue sort of really works with that as a kind of an idea that actually this is an interpretation of Jinx in playing into your style, and as an art, sort of more of a like a showcase for the artist, as much as anything else, sort of really works, and it's really striking. And and generally, what I've when I've been looking at people's feedback, it has been really well received so far. So I've not really seen anything negative. It's just been positive so far that I've seen, which is really good news.
Good to hear. Good to hear. You want to get inspired? Do you want to see my cat?
Tim's a cat person.
My cat is downstairs, but last week he was in my lap for a little bit of the podcast.
A guest star.
So I had one specific little Easter egg that I noticed, and I wondered, is this just me noticing and projecting, or is this something that was intentional? One panel, we had a Crimson Guard lying on the floor, sort of pointing off panel, and I wondered, was that an intentional homage back to the original Silent interlude, issue 21, where there's a Cobra Trooper lying on the floor pointing off? Homage or coincidence?
I would really want to act like an expert here and say, yes, I knew this, but no, you're projecting. Sorry to ruin it.
Wow. I was
convinced. It's just random. I mean, because
Danny,
if we had a script here, we have a script. If we had speech balloons, he would say, go, the bomb is there, just go there. But no, we needed to show somehow that you need to go there. So it's just your projection.
Wow.
So
That's a really fun coincidence.
if someone
it's true.
hasn't written Batman before, the editor might give them a bunch of Batman comics in addition to maybe a Bible, rules and characters. I'm assuming Alex Antone did not give you any G.I. Joe stories to read, and that the
No, because
only
sorry.
reference you got was for how some characters look, for costumes and the plane. Am I right?
Yeah. Because Dan got into the picture, so we had our savior. I didn't have to get more into it, but I had a lot of reference. And actually, it's funny because this thing, this had happened with my first job ever, which was for 2000 AD. It was Things from the Eastern Front, and I was in a Comic Con in London, and an editor passed by my table. Keith Richardson is his name, and he said, I really like your stuff. I'm an editor for 2000 AD. At that time, I knew who Judge Dredd was, but I couldn't connect because my comics, all my readings had nothing to do with that. And he's a smart person. He realized that I knew nothing, and he said, "Okay, look, the first thing that we're going to do is I'm going to send you some books for you to read, and then we're going to work together." So yes, sometimes editors do that when they realize that you don't know anything about comics. But yes, this time Dan saved the day, and I just studied all the visual references.
Speaking of visual references, Mark, can you go to the first page?
All right.
Danny, is this bomb? Is this supposed to look like anything, or did you look up bombs?
Okay,
Because
look.
it kind of looks like something.
What, Sega Mega Drive?
Sir.
Genesis? Sorry, did I spoil it? Is that what you were thinking?
It was.
Okay. No, I'm laughing because this bomb has a story.
Uh-huh.
At first, because I'm not good with weapons. I told you I'm not into all this military thing. It's out of my interest, and but it's great when I get to draw stories like that, because I learn things in the process that I wouldn't get into. Um, this bomb really didn't look like that in the beginning, and Alex was. I laughed so much, so hard with this email that I got. He said it was, the classic one, the old school with the dynamite.
The red sticks.
Said, okay, everything looks perfect, but can we maybe do the bomb less Looney Tune? Like, oh my God, we've never met up close, but I like you so much, Alex. Yes, I laughed so hard because he was so right. So I just Googled, okay, bombs, and I Googled James Bond bombs. And I sent him an image. I'm like, is this cooler to use? Is this more G.I. Joe-ish? Said yes, fine, okay. So that's the story behind this bomb.
So it wasn't going the other direction where it was going to be a black spherical, like the bowling ball with the wick on top.
Could be, but that's what you get now. So,
a James
yeah,
Bond
at least
bomb.
it's not the classic Roadrunner bomb from the Coyote. So yes, Yes,
like
that's
Listeners, if you are not watching this, Mark has
Hmm.
just found an image from the internet of a black disc on some kind of box
did you
device.
Google
I
with a
googled
red-
James Bond bomb.
James Bond bomb? This is what you get.
Yeah. So sometimes artists do search for something that you can recreate that search, and you can find that same image that they found and that they used.
Oh, and you never want to check artists' phones.
Their search history.
The pictures we take for references.
Right. You look like you might be building your own bomb.
Yes, hilarious. I always I cannot hands, of course. Everyone has a hard time with hands. The amount of photos I have from my hands in my phone is insane. And usually for a sword, I use my ruler. Is this called a ruler?
Mhm.
For
Yep.
straight line ruler. I
Yeah.
have a big
Mhm.
metallic one, so this is my sword for reference
Right.
every time. Yeah.
I just want to plant a seed because we're hoping that there'll be more of these silent missions in the future, and I imagine editor Alex Antone will ask new people who also haven't worked on GI Joe. But you're in a particular club now. You've now drawn a GI Joe story, and so someday someone may ask you to draw another GI Joe story, or Mark may ask you to draw Jinx at a convention. And if you ever draw another GI Joe story, you may want it to be as different as possible from this one. So no swords, no martial arts, might mean guns. So I just want to plant a seed that it may be time to buy a toy gun, even a sort of a Star Wars blaster, so that you have the reference for when you're taking photos of your hand or getting someone nearby to hold.
That's really good advice. I should get one. My
I think
nephew
it's
has many toys. Maybe I should borrow something.
yeah, could be. I think it's Paulo Rivera publishes a lot of his like what's the right word? Method, behind the scenes process stuff, which is quite interesting to see because he's very diligent, very thoughtful when it comes to producing art. And I think it's him. He collects like these miniature, 6-inch weapons, which he has on a little sort of weapons rack and stuff like that he uses for his kind of reference when he's drawing. It's kind of
I just want to point out
every artist has a different process, and
Mark,
it's interesting. Sorry, go.
Mark, do you have every page of this? Can you go to the
I do
the page with the countdown 4 on the top? This is not a question, Danny. This is an observation as I kill time while Mark pulls up this page. But I found the final panel on this page, what I'm calling page 004, so funny because the Crimson Guardsman is sweating, but he's sweating so much he's sweating through the helmet. So this is not flop sweat. This isn't cartoon droplets coming sort of up and off the sides of someone's head as like Bugs Bunny's like, oh geez. This is literal, but there is so much sweat that it's sweating through and out the helmet. And so when I hit this panel, I thought about it and I thought, oh yeah, that makes sense. It's really tense. Oh wait, that doesn't make sense. That's really funny. And then I sort of circled back around to it and I thought, no, this is just ink. These are just marks. And my brain, we're all making sense out of these symbols. Like I know what a red wire and what a blue wire and a bomb means in a story. It means that one of them is correct and one of them isn't. And it all depends on the writer. And so when I look back at this panel, the silliness of it disappeared. And I just sort of went,
And it's also a lot. It's a lot of sweat to create in just 2 seconds as well, because they only discovered this bomb 2
Yeah.
seconds previously.
But
So he's a quick sweater. He's a quick
it's
sweater.
it's a matter of life and death. Come on, Mark.
Yeah, and also those helmets. You know, you're going to sweat in a helmet like that.
I'm
There's
sure
Anyways.
sweat is not coming out, but I need it to bring the tension.
But
No,
should we talk
I-
about?
What?
There's
Go on.
there's one other thing that I want to. This is a serious topic, not a silly topic. I want to talk about the shapes of your panels and your negative space, because, for example, we're looking at page 04 right now. The countdown says 04, and there's a horizontal panel on the top with the two guys kneeling, and then there are 4 vertical panels, narrow vertical panels. And yet you've got this round shape, this half circle carved out of the final 3 panels, so that there can be more of the ground and we can see more of the stuff around the bomb. And that round curve echoes the round disc on top of the bomb. And
Yes.
to a lesser extent, the Cobra symbol or the roundness of their helmets, and in general, just the chords that are squiggly and somewhat round. And then, you can sort of pick any page, and there are these different sort of emphases, right? Like, so here on page 0017, which is the 4th page of the comic, there are these 2 vertical inset panels. And then you have not a splash page, but the closest thing we're going to get to a splash page until the end of the story, with just all of this negative space, right? And so this page, even though every page only takes 1 second, this page breathes really differently than the next page, where there are 4 sort of quick panels, and then the 2 pages after that, where there are a lot more diagonals and sort of bullets and climbing up stairs. And we've already talked about this because you've mentioned artists like Eduardo Rizzo or Mike Mignola. Maybe this is just sort of like, that's the way that I draw, or, I want to make the page graphically interesting. But I'm just really struck by how different each page is from the one before it and the one after it, and how kind of no one page is like any other. And there are some really strong shapes, like geometric shapes, within your negative space and within your panel shapes. So that's not a question. I'm just saying it.
Well, no, thank you so much for noticing. First of all, it's really flattering because comics is the creation of comics is a really lonely process. It is. You never know the other side up until you talk with someone, I don't know, at a convention or at a panel, or at a podcast. So, first of all, I'm trying not to bore myself, because when when I get bored, I end up drawing the same thing again and again, and I'm not enjoying it. I feel I'm drawing the same thing over and over again, and it shows. You're going to experience it. I really believe that the reader experiences when the artist or the writer is bored, or writes or draws something just to do it. So keeping things interesting for me, first of all, I'm really selfish. I'm doing this for me to have a good time drawing. So having this variety, it gives more in the creative process. And it comes really, it's instinctive. I don't know if I can put it in words correctly, but it's especially with this one, with this comic, with this story, that there are no words, and it's every beat, every page is a beat. So you're trying to I tried anyways to show this beat also with the shape. I'm really into shapes, sculpturing. I'm really into the shape. Okay, in every panel, but the whole page is uh, is an art piece for me. So I'm really trying to show all the ugh, I'll find the word. Wait, I won't find the word. The atmosphere. I got it. Greek word. The atmosphere of the whole thing, and I'm trying to show this through shapes, through the position of the panels also. So this is my thought process every time I'm organizing a page and I'm trying to solve this puzzle, this mystery.
As an additional point to what you were just saying, Danny, as well, that in terms of a reading experience, you can see a page, and sometimes some pages will take longer to look at or take in or read than others, but it's often quite a short experience for the reader. You see it, turn the page, and for the writer, again, it potentially is quite short. It's the emergency alarm is ringing. It turns off. 4 Crimson Guards enter the room. Next page. Whereas for the artist, you live with that each page for a long time. That typically it's going to take at least a day per page normally to draw something like this. So you're having to live in that space of a single page for a long time and think about it probably more than anyone else in the process.
Yes, and most of the times you just, as an artist with deadlines, you at some point you need to learn when to let go and just say, you know what, this is it's a bit of detail that only you know, and no one is going to notice. Just move on, finish the page and move on. Okay, with details, if it's something really outstanding, also the editor will let you know. So but especially with this one, because okay, there were many factors in this puzzle. One was no words, the other one was 1 second per page. So even though, for example, I don't remember correctly, but let's say that this page, the script was the alarm goes on and off, and the guards appear through the corridor. You want to balance it out, not to have this sensation of the tension and what is happening, but also not exceed the time limit. Like with the other page that we showed sooner, with the circular shape and the sweat. Again, I wanted to make the page interesting, which is just okay. They are over the bomb and trying to decide which one of the 2 cables they'll cut, and they are nervous. My thought process is I want to make this page visually interesting, but also have a flow. Again, there are no words here, so it might be 1 second before someone flips the page, but I would also like for the reader to have taken something out of this 1 second page, have some bits to stand a bit. I don't know if it makes sense, but
yeah, I think it's the kind of comic that rewards multiple rereadings as well. That you can take it in quite quickly because it is a relatively simple story and read it at speed, but then come back to it and sort of just soak in a bit more of the detail of the composition, all of the thought that's been put into each page and stuff like that. So I think it can be taken taken in a couple of different ways. And one thing which is kind of less kind of insightful and academic is just that a lot of it just looks really cool. That these characters, these characters,
But they are
Crimson Guard.
already cool. The design is cool.
Yeah,
already.
exactly. They're very. It's a very cool design for these guys, the Crimson Guard. They're one of my favorite designs in the G.I. Joe lore. And I think this is probably just about as good that they've ever looked, and certainly probably as big a focus on them as they've ever had in there. And the sort of just your art approach combined with the colouring and sort of the likes of that last page and others that sort of just give them give a bit of space to breathe and a sort of a focus on some of the cool design elements is just a fun thing to see this character presented in such a good way, cool way.
So I want to.
Yeah, Oh, sorry. Go on.
No, it's Mark paid you a compliment. Mike is yours.
No, I was just thinking that maybe, okay, it doesn't make sense to just linger on details, but sometimes I just remembered me studying other people's comics. So maybe for some people, it is worth to just put in the details if they are studying what you are doing. Just a thought. I wanted to say this loud.
Mark and I definitely study every G.I. Joe comic that we read. I wanted to talk about the second to last page and the last page. So in terms of page layout, this is where the biggest contrast hits between two pages that are sequential. Because
More sweat.
Sorry?
More sweat.
Right.
Oh yeah, on the way.
Now it's sort of flop sweat. Now it's sort of going, like.
Now it's just it's all over the place.
So on this second to last page, there are 5 very narrow vertical panels, right? I guess I'm not counting the panel in every page. That is the time readout, but effectively the page is these 5 vertical panels. And in keeping these panels sort of smaller and with no wide open space, you're subdividing this second into smaller and smaller moments within a second, because, like, to use a film analogy, we're cutting, we're editing faster, and you're not holding the shot. And then the reader turns the page, and on the last page there's the payoff. There's the payoff in several ways. One, it's a splash page. We haven't had a proper splash page in the whole issue. And comics don't need them, but comics often like them. 2, we haven't had, and this is synonymous with splash page, we haven't quite had the full, cool, pinup, almost cover drawing of Jinx on the inside, which is like the cover where she gets to be, full body and striking a pose and having her weapon.
And awesome.
And also, boom. So it's both like a relief to turn the page and finally get this, because the tension has been building. It's also sort of like fun or funny, because it's like, yes, the winner, the winner is the good guy. But also, just from a plot perspective, I am curious. So the previous panel, the bad guys do cut the red wire. So
surprise, it was the wrong one.
Okay, so all right, so the interpretation is, it's not that they ran out of time, it's that they cut the wrong one, or they cut the wrong one and they cut the wrong one and then they run out of time.
You never know. You don't know. It's a Dan script, Dan Watters script.
Okay.
You never know.
There's more than one interpretation, because what they've been worrying is that if they cut the wrong one, it blows up early. And what happens here is no matter what they do, it blows up. Sort of makes me wonder, did Jinx rewire this before the first page so that there is no way to disarm it?
You will never know. But let's take a second to comment on Brad's choice of coloring here, because the explosion it's so simple. It's just the choice he made was to just make my lines red and leave this blank, but it's so powerful. And sometimes in simplicity you get power. I love that when it happens.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go on.
Oh, well, because an alternate, if someone handed this black and white page to someone else and said, this is an explosion, but all you have is red and blue, or let's say two reds and two blues, they might be tempted to use a lot of red or add some jagged shapes within the white negative space of your explosion.
Also, you don't want to get because Jinx is red, so I
can't compete.
What his thought process was, I'm guessing here, that you don't want to get the power off of Jinx because she's the main red thing. She's the color of danger. But also make this explosion powerful as well. So, great choice, Brad. Bravo.
There are artists who have drawn in, I'm thinking of an artist and I'm thinking of a color artist who drew on a main book for one of the big two with an art style more like this, where there was a lot of black ink and a lot of high key contrast light sources. And this was in like 2000, 2001, 2002. And what it really wanted was like less color and more of the white of the page showing through, and maybe no color, although it was a regular book, so it was going to get colored. And there was a lot of rendering, and that was really at cross purposes. And it might be hard for viewers or listeners to imagine other color takes on this page. But there are so many different ways to color this, and there isn't maybe only one right way to color this, but there's certainly a lot of there are a lot of not right ways to color this. And so like you said earlier, it's cool to have a talented and confident color artist in Brad Simpson on this, who can work with such a limited set of tools and not overpower the arts and not distract from sort of what the story and dramatic moments
are. It's really complementary. He's really good.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yes, his colors complement your art. His approach complements your approach.
Also, I feel like my drawings are kind of flat. So every time I get, I've had sometimes colorists that they're really detailing shine. They add shinings and
rendering.
And this is called rendering.
Rendering, like modeling. So like a gradient.
Yes.
From dark to medium to light with highlights.
No, I've had this and it works. This how are these 90s Marvel and DC, like with the shines on
highlights.
Yes, highlights on my stuff. They really don't work. So because my inks are kind of flat, every time I get kind of flat colors, I don't know how to describe it. It works pretty well.
Your drawings are still very much ink on paper, and it's very much about shapes. And that what you're describing, like 90s Marvel, the art may be more stylized or less stylized, but the coloring is trying to be photorealistic. It's trying to be reality. And your comic, in my brain, it's reality, but on the page, it is such a stylized reality that it wants fewer colors and it doesn't want render. It doesn't want. I mean, there are highlights here, but it doesn't want those kinds of highlights. While we're talking about color, I just want to point out something that I really like, where for on Mark, on the page that has the number 12 on top, when we first see the Night Creeper, the sort of rules of the comic are slightly broken, but then it makes sense because up until now we've only had characters who are red. We only have things that are white and red and black, and then we have this character who shows up and has purple, maybe two purples, but it's okay because, of course, purple is red and blue, and there has been this light blue and this other light blue hanging around. And so this is not like all of a sudden someone shows up and they've got blonde hair, right? Or like a green camouflage. Like, this is still within the world.
Yes.
And also it's a thrill to see this character because it's a cool again, it's a cool design with
Yay, Dan, for making this character show up. That was what we were going for. I think I recall that we were talking about, okay, how can we make this character not pop up, a bit more different anyway. And our logic was the overlapping of do you know riso printing, risograph?
Yeah,
it's like silk screen printing. It's the same logic.
It's
so
Like printing
that's,
different layers.
yes,
on
for
top.
our
so
listeners,
that's
like
what we went for.
It's like a photocopier, but instead of one kind of toner with black, it's got different ink cartridges, but it ends up being like screen printing where it's done in layers.
Exactly, that's it. And actually, we, for Coffin Bound with Dan, we had printed ash cans by hand. We folded them by hand. It was Riso printing, and we did the three colors. So if someone has these, I think they are like 100. And they're all handmade, and we still have this we love this technique, and I think this is also a connection here with Coffin Bound through the ash cans, that we try to bring this logic here of overlapping the layer of blue and the layer of red, which are prevalent or prominent in this comic?
Both.
Same.
Both. Okay, great. I know words in English. Yes. So this is how this purplish thing
Mark,
appeared.
Can you zoom in on the Night Creeper's legs?
Yeah, I was about to do that. Yeah.
So on the leg that's on the left, there's the white highlight, and then there's, in the camouflage, then there's red, and then there's the purple, right? Or down the boot, there are these three layers of color.
Yeah.
And they are not in sync. They are not fully aligned. The printing is slightly out of sync, and this is on purpose. You're saying, to look like risograph, to look like screen printing, where you have these imperfections, which you don't get in a digital coloring environment unless you do them on purpose to replicate the look of old-fashioned hand techniques.
Yeah, Brad is awesome. He's amazing. That's the point. He knows what he's doing.
the previous page, Mark, can you go to the previous page, which has the number 13 on it, giving Mark a workout? That's some aggressive killing, and we have seen this might tie for sort of most extreme violence in a G.I. Joe comic. It's still depicted in a tasteful way. It still feels like, a movie you could take a PG-13. But I just want to call out that in that second panel, that sword goes through that guy's head and out his helmet. And then in the next panel, Jinx chops him in half at the legs. And that's very exciting and shocking.
Yeah, Alex told me not to be too graphic with this, especially with apparently in America, the impaling thing is with the sword. It's really a no-no. So it's only figures. You can do it, but only figures, no details.
Sorry.
No, go on.
There used to be a rule in American comics. There was a set of rules that all the publishers created in the 1950s to censor themselves because there was a threat of government regulation and bans on comic books.
Yes.
And this was called the Comics Code Authority.
Yeah.
And one of the rules was no exit wounds. So if a bullet goes into someone, you can't show it leaving them. And that included, or the similar rule was you can't show someone impaled. And so sometimes you'd get like, I think this has happened in a G.I. Joe comic in the 90s. You'd get a sword going into someone. Maybe I'm just thinking of Daredevil and Elektra. Speaking of Frank Miller in 1981, I think when Bullseye kills Elektra, I'm trying to remember, does the sai? It doesn't poke out her back. I think it's pushing the clothing.
It's sort of, it pushes the clothing out the back.
You see what's happening, but you don't see the exit wound. Now the Comics Code was abandoned 20 years ago, and it does not exist anymore, and publishers don't subscribe to it anymore, but it still looms a little bit sort of as a cultural shared memory.
It's interesting that you did sort of describe this as one of the most violent moments of G.I. Joe, Tim, because like just in isolation, it's almost like shapes and color when you zoom in that much that you're not actually particularly in that panel there being shown anything too graphic. You're sort of like it's all about how you interpret it, really, in your own mind, isn't it?
That's how I'm trying to work with negative spaces. Okay, another way that I'm trying not to get bored is, okay, Dani, can you draw this panel? I'm just trying to take stuff out of the drawing and just testing to see how many things I can take out and still pass to the reader the image I'm trying to pass. Because, okay, we figured out that the brain just connects things, even with slight images. So, okay, it's nothing. This panel is nothing. It's just a shape. And even Brad has has treated it with the same way. It's just shape. That's it. But it is powerful. Although for me, this is not that violent. For me, it's more violent, the panel with the cutting of the legs than that.
Yeah.
But okay. Which was not in the script, but in some way, somehow we needed to get rid of the second trooper. And this is how it goes.
Let's not forget the panel after, Mark, while you're scrolling up and down.
Yes, because he's falling over. This is how we roll.
This does happen on a staircase.
Oh.
I mean, if you're
That's
going
brilliant.
you're running up a staircase and you have a katana, and what are
Yeah.
the first thing you see are legs. Chop them off.
I've heard of disarming my enemies, but this is dislegging them.
Yeah.
There we go.
But yes, for me, it's always it's weird which things are okay and which are not in American comics. Because in European comics, we have a totally different approach in violence or sexual erotic stuff. So, but I understand. Okay, it's a different culture and everything, and different restrictions. But it always amazes me. For me, as a Balkan European, the second panel is more violent. The third panel is more violent than the second one with the sword. But for America, that was the panel that we were more stressed about.
Well, they are bad guys, so
I get what's coming to them.
Yeah.
this is to say that besides the bomb on page 1, were there were no corrections or changes once you were drawing?
The less Looney Tuny.
Yeah.
No, I think
There was that whole thing with the frying pan that had to go.
I had one correction, an extra correction, and it adds up to my irrelevance with G.I. Joe. And I believe you can see it in the layouts that there are in the last. This page that the trooper and Jinx see each other. I think it's either the second page or the third one.
You show his eyes
with the eyes.
Yes.
Yeah.
The layouts. I'm like, okay, so they see each other. I sent it, and Alex is like, Danny. The troopers have helmets. You cannot see their eyes. Yes, you're right. Okay. What if we make the reflection? Yes, cool. So that was another correction.
When I want to ask about your art process. So these layouts are really small, right?
Yeah. Wait,
Like
I can show you.
Oh,
I can show
Okay.
you. Wait.
Okay.
I
Cool.
Okay. The latest. You cannot understand what it is, so I'm not showing anything. But they are
okay,
like this.
This is not G.I. Joe. This is something new
It's
you're working
not
on?
G.I. Joe. It's my current project, and you don't know what it is, so I'm okay to show it.
All right. So yeah.
But yeah, they're small.
All right. So listeners, looks like Danny is holding an 8.5 by 11 booklet and is opening it up to a spread of 2 pages next to each other, and each one has 4 layouts on it, so quarter size.
So they are small.
Okay, so when you start drawing the actual full-size page, are you drawing light pencils in recreating the thumbnails and then mostly drawing in ink? Are you drawing everything in pencils and then just recreating it in ink?
I draw everything in pencil first, and they are quite detailed. And when I ink, that's the thing that I could never have someone else ink my pencils, because that's the part where I make the most decisions on the visual part, because I will leave many things out of the inking of the inking. Even I will make a spaceship, for example. It will be super detailed, and when I ink it, I will either choose to make the whole thing black or half of the sides leave out of the inking. So it's
Simplify and
yes, but for me to be correct with the shapes and the sizes and the analogies, I don't know if this is a correct
and that
translation. The dimension, anyway, you get what I mean.
Ratios.
The ratios, yes, thank you. I have to draw in full detail at first. And if something I cannot draw, I just paint it black and act like it didn't happen. It's in the shade, in the darkness. I'm so talented. Just black.
I wanted to ask about like the ticking timer aspect to it, because that's like such a unique storytelling device that for this particular issue. So it's a really condensed piece of amount of time. Did you kind of in your own head sort of try and figure out what can you do with physically within 20 seconds? How realistic is this? Did you sort of try and kind of do a counter and sort of try and walk through the beats or anything like that?
Yeah, it's what we were talking about before, that it was a balance somehow to make the page and the panels interesting and for the reader to have something to read, but also not over not being bigger than 1 second. Yeah, I cannot describe it, but it's for this story. It was a balance, a weird balance, just an extra thing in the puzzle, an extra factor.
I think for my interpretation, it was like there's a balance of what is what can you really achieve in a 20-second versus from a storytelling point of view and what's interesting. Let's show sort of an interesting beat on each page, and that makes absolute sense to kind of approach it along those lines.
Yes, I mean it's. I try to use shapes, like for example, what we said before. One was circular, another one is more angular, just to make an interesting visual page, interesting visually page, and then not exceed the 1 second thing for each one. I really sometimes I'm trying to describe what is happening during the creative process, but it cannot be described. I'm doing my best here. Seriously, and many times I'm afterwards when I'm done with it, and now for example that we're talking about it, I'm just thinking about it now and I'm trying to analyze what I did and recall what I did and put names on things that I'm not even thinking about at that moment. It just comes out and then you're trying to describe it. Yeah, so
yeah, I understand that.
yes, I don't know if it makes sense, but this is how it goes.
So shall we, Tim, was there anything else that you wanted to talk about, or should we take a look at the covers? We can do this so we sort of getting into the more of the regular things that we do now, Danny, so you can if you want to leave us, you can, otherwise you can join in with the discussion.
I'm having a great time. I don't mind.
That's perfect. I don't want to intrude on your time if you do want to get away, so
don't worry.
Okay,
Saturday night already burned. I'm saying So
I feel horrible now.
I'm
I'm
just
glad
gonna-
your Saturday
I'm
night.
just going to assume that the busy freelancer is behind schedule on something and is just going to draw after we get off the call, and draw
No way.
tomorrow and draw Monday.
no way. No, it's a weekend. It's a weekend. I want to relax.
Is that ink on your hands, Danny, or is that
Yes.
tattoos or
Tattoo.
that? Ah,
It's my
oh,
cat's.
skulls.
Yeah. Well, one is still alive.
Hmm.
Yeah, the other one is dead.
Yeah. Oh, dear.
So she's already a skull.
You've turned into a skull a little bit prematurely. Excellent. Right. Okay. Let's look at the covers.
Let's have a look at the covers in the gallery.
So let's start off with.
Before I talk about cover A, I will say that the back cover of this comic book shows covers A and B and C and D, but it looks like someone at Skybound used the file from the Phil Hester Beachhead issue, which kicked off this month, because where they slotted in Danny's A cover with color and Danny's C cover with no color, the name label still refers to Phil Hester and Lee Lowridge, who did not do these covers.
You're right.
So that's a big typo on the back cover, but
yeah, I wonder about the inside front cover as well, whether that also.
Oh yeah, okay. So and then on the front inside cover, cover A is credited to Danny and Brad Simpson, and then cover B is credited to Jorge Fornes. And then cover C, which would be the black and white version of Danny's cover art, is inadvertently credited to Phil Hester. But the good news, Danny, is that your signature is very clearly on the color version and the black and white one. Okay, so that aside, cover A is drawn by Danny. And Danny, is this correct? You did not color it. Brad Simpson colored this cover.
Brad colored it. Yes.
Okay.
I rarely color my things. Actually, the only comic I've colored of my own was Black Beth for 2018, The Devils of Al-Qadesh, and I had such a hard time. Such a hard time coloring it. It was a great experience, but I wouldn't do it again, I think.
Okay. I am holding my printed copy next to my monitor, which is showing the digital version that Mark has put on my screen, our screens. And the blue of the printed copy is much lighter. Okay. So in this cover, Danny has drawn Danny has drawn Jinx midair, kicking one Cobra soldier while another is reacting. Behind her is
about to get kicked.
Is about to get kicked. Behind all of them is a rounded black shape, which is creating this background in the distance where it's nighttime and it's snowing. And the rounded shape makes me think that we are in front of a window. I don't think we're in a giant pipe. I'm getting a thumbs up from Danny. We're in front of a window.
Yes.
Jinx has her sword up in the air. It's bloodied. She's holding her staff with the sharp edges at both ends in her other hand. And both of these Cobra soldiers have little red Cobra logos on their chests. But Danny, help us out here. I think these might be sort of new characters. Is this a character design that you were referencing? Is this something that you referenced and then added to? Is this something that you made up? Because this doesn't jump out at me as a very well-known action figure.
I think it was just an interpretation.
Okay. Mark, this is Mark, is this where you say it's like the classified Cobra Trooper, but because there's no color, it's like a snow Arctic Cobra Trooper?
I think it's basically something like the classified infantry design with just like the artistic interpretation dial turned up a little bit higher to give that contrast and particularly like sort of those what do you call it, like
the ribbing,
the ribbing and that kind of thing on the tunic and that kind of thing.
So what Danny and Brad Simpson have done here is, because the Cobras have white gloves and white helmets and white face masks, and because there's snow in the background, this reads as an Arctic scene, which is why it feels like either a new Cobra soldier or a specific version of one. Danny draws some nice directional lines on the left hand of the lower Cobra soldier so that we can see his fingers in front of the white space of the background without there being a traditional outline. And then, as Mark was just referring, the shoulder pads and sort of the chest armor is this sort of cross pattern, like lattice ribbing, which Danny has inked sort of in negative, rather than drawing the diagonal grid of lines and having these little diamonds in between them all. Danny has inked just the diamonds and left the white grid uninked, and so it's this sort of negative high contrast effect. That's cover A.
And for Danny, this, as is pretty common in comics, this is dated 2024, the distant past of 2024. So presumably this was the first thing that you drew for this project?
Yes. I mean, the covers are always the first thing you draw, most of the times anyways.
Yeah.
Because
How much time?
The previews.
How much time between the cover and drawing the first page?
This one, the cover, I drew in November, if I remember correctly, and the comic I drew in January.
Cool.
So.
And we're speaking, and the book came out in April.
Yeah, and this is how comics work.
Mark is jumping ahead to cover C, which is this same image drawn by Danny in 2024, but with no color, and sort of what we're sort of absorbing all throughout the comic book, but we don't quite get because there is color, is at last the sort of pure version of Danny's artwork. It's just black ink on a white background here. So there is no red of Jinx's costume. There's no red blood. There's no red of the Cobra symbol. The snow is white. Jinx's costume is white. The Arctic Cobras are white. The background space is white. And it's really striking. There is a little bit of blue and red up in the G.I. Joe logo, but black and white cover. Cover B is drawn and colored by Jorge Fornes. This is Jinx. The camera is at knee height, looking slightly up at her. She's in front of a doorway that feels a little bit like a Japanese screen, like a sliding door. And then there's a diagonal made from her holding her bladed staff in her left hand. She's got two swords tucked into scabbards on her back. Her right arm is up a little bit as she's noticing some unseen adversary coming in from the right side. Between her and the background door is a, Mark, help me out here. This is a circular logo, like a sign or a banner, but it's like cut as a discrete circle. And is this the dragon logo?
Yeah, I think so.
Chest?
Oh, we can see it better, actually. I've got this.
Okay.
I found the a version of this without the logo. So yeah, it's I think it's some version of Jinx's sort of dragon design thing that she has.
Okay, so I'm not quite sure, I also don't know if it matters, if we're supposed to interpret this symbol as a physical object in the scene behind her, or if it's a graphical effect, like the way that the logo is there and it's floating and we're just taking it all in. That's like, you could, if you have a drawing of Batman and he's punching someone in the sewer and you don't see the bat symbol on his chest, but the Batman logo is behind him, and there's no bat signal down in the sewer that's turned on, right? We just know, like, oh, well, there's Batman symbol next to and behind Batman. It's not literally physically there. This cover is all warm tones. There's the red of Jinx, the yellow of the logo, and some sort of peach orange in the background of this door screen. And no blood. Cover D is the 1:25 ratio variance. This is the second of 5. So the same Jorge Fornes cover has now been cropped in the space of the letter I of G.I. Joe, and then all around it is the red and white and blue stripe. And as with this cover treatment, within that space of the letter, the characters in color and the background is basically black and white.
Are these connecting covers?
The 5 images, by themselves are not, but when you put
them, it's G.I.
Joe, yes.
Mm.
I had it in
this is one of the 2 covers where I started to think that Jorge Fornes was designing his covers not luckily having his characters fit within the spaces of these letters, but that someone had sent him a file where in the layout of a cover, here's where the letter is going to be. So put your character so that they make space when makes sense when we cut them out of that space. So Danny, you'll see Beachhead is sort of anywhere. Jinx is inside. Spirit is outside. Roadblock's outside. Juke's in the jungle.
Spelling out G.I. Joe, and they're really cool. They're foil covers as well, so they've got a bit of shine to them. So,
and I've said it in other episodes about this month, but I'll say it again. It's just very exciting to have a stunt, a device, a framework, so that it's not just there are more G.I. Joe comics all of a sudden one month, but it's a specific month that has 5 weeks, which is a little unusual. And you have these 5 G.I. Joe comics, and then there's this special thing they all have in common. They're all wordless. And then just to unite them in one more way, because it's not part 1 of 5 and 2 of 5 and part 5 of 5. But here, this little icing on the cake, if you spend a little extra money and your comic book store sets it aside for you, or you just buy a bunch of copies, you can then set these 5 covers next to each other and take a picture and send it to us, and you've made this little tableau spelling out the word G.I. Joe. Mark, are there any retailer exclusive variants?
There are. At the time of recording, I've not seen all of them, and I'm not entirely sure how much to trust the inside front cover of the book, as I normally would, to see how many there are and who did them. It's likely that. Yeah, it's likely that there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6-ish if we go by the credits and what we saw for Beachhead. But I have seen 2. So I believe this one is by Ryan Kincaid and will be a C2E2 exclusive. I think that is this week, that's happening this weekend as we record, that's happening. So Jinx grabbing looks like she's grabbing her sword over her shoulder, but it doesn't look like there's a scabbard, so sort of angling it over the back of her, surrounded by broken bamboo and these sort of shurikens which are somewhat frozen in the air
in front of a big moon,
in front of a really big moon. Mm-hmm.
Half the cover is the moon.
And this is a Virgin variant, so that moon won't be encumbered by any logo. And then across all 6 of the issues coming out as part of this silent month, Peter Smith is doing a cover for each one of them. So this one is, as you might expect, Jinx, sort of in a slightly cartoon animated style, stood in front of some pit, animated pit style looking grey greebly stuff. Is that a word? And
Wall. She's in front of the wall. There's tech stuff.
in front of a wall, and there's tech stuff like a
horizontal grooves in a metal wall to make you think you're at GI Joe or Cobra headquarters. And Mark, you have all 5 of all 6 of
they
these.
all join up together. Yep, because we also have the Snake Eyes one as part of this series. So that is the covers so far. And a few more I think will sort of creep out over the course of the coming weeks, I imagine, because quite often these might be exclusive to a particular show and sort of get announced as at the time of the show. Next up, we would normally do a plot breakdown. So can I get a plot breakdown of this issue, a plot summary, in less than 20 seconds? I don't know if you set the timer going, and then let me know if I've
Wait, I can do that. Got my phone.
Set the timer.
Got my phone. Timer.
Plot breakdown.
Have set an explosive device.
No way.
Well, I know. For just 20 with the timer set for just 20 seconds. At the time it counts down, she encounters a Crimson Guard who sounds the alarm, bringing... No, I'm going to fail that. No. Again.
I turned it off.
Chance.
I turned it off.
That was too much pressure. Okay.
Do you want to say go and I'll push the button, or do you want to not do it?
Right. I'll see if I can. Give me one more time. I'll see if I can do it. Okay, right. Ready?
Plot breakdown.
The G.I. Joe ninja Jinx has set an explosive device in a Cobra hangar with a timer set for just 20 seconds. As the timer counts down, she encounters a Crimson Guard who sounds the alarm, bringing reinforcements. Jinx battles past CGs. With the exit blocked, she heads to the roof, fighting past a Night Creeper who, wounded, fights again on the rooftop. Back in the hangar, panic Cobras attempt to defuse the bomb, which detonates just after Jinx has gone with 1 second left to strike a pose.
3 seconds off.
Yeah,
Mark,
like the Crimson Guards, I failed.
I'm sorry. Mark, this episode exploded and we didn't make it out of the podcast.
It sounds like we didn't.
Interestingly, Danny did.
Now that we did the countdown, 20 seconds are way. You cannot make make it out.
20 seconds is a short amount of time, we have discovered.
Not realistic, guys. Sorry. Yeah.
Well, speaking of numbers with 2s and 0s of them in them, Danny, we're over our 2-hour mark. We should let you go very soon. Mark, I'm out of questions. What are our final bits of business?
Our final bits of business. I think personally, I covered the story as kind of a lot of my thoughts and the things I wanted to call out as we were going with the questions. So we probably don't need to sort of continue too much beyond this anyway. I think my conclusions, my final thoughts, high level thoughts about this issue was that it was, very different, and it was really, very visually striking. I love the way it looked. I think, Danny's art and with the coloring from Brad Walker. Very, 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 very visually striking, and really, really enjoyed it. It's I think it quite often we get lost in the plot of a story like G.I. Joe and the ongoing saga. So it's so these sort of one shots have been interesting to see, like someone else's take on that world. And this issue, much more than I think any of the other issues in this 5-parter, is really kind of an artist's spotlight. I'd say that it's very much an art book, and I enjoyed it a lot. And anytime Danny wants to come back and take a spin in the world of G.I. Joe, I would be happy to have you back.
Well, thank you so much. It's so flattering. Thank you. I really enjoyed the whole thing. So yeah, why not?
The only thing I will add is that although early on I said in the episode that there have now been a lot of G.I. Joe comics published with a variety of art styles, while that is all true, G.I. Joe has never looked like this. And that's really exciting. That G.I. Joe can handle that, so much style and such a specific look. And also that it looks so good, because there are artists out there who are heavily stylized who aren't as good or have a lot of limitations, and the style is covering up weaknesses. And that's not what's happening here. What's happening here is that Danny and Brad Simpson are making really cool choices, and it's not just a pastiche. It isn't like, oh, this issue looks like these other artists who you know from comics. This is a very specific thing by someone who's brand new to G.I. Joe, with a lot of work from someone who's relatively new to G.I. Joe, and then on top of that, this device of a wordless comic is something we've gotten a handful of times now in G.I. Joe. And we've gotten some countdowns, and we've gotten some stories that have this limited focus of time, but we've never gotten a G.I. Joe comic that is only 20 seconds in its complete story envelope. And so there's a lot of interesting and innovative firsts here for G.I. Joe, and just unusual for all comics.
And this 1 second per page is an interesting and different device. And I can't think of another example of a comic that's done that. I don't know if it does exist. There's a lot of comics out there, so it's entirely possible that it's not never been done, but I can't think of an example.
I know there's a bomb that counts down in this graphic novel Marvel did in 1990 called Avengers Death Trap the Vaults, which was reprinted as Venom Death Trap the Vaults, where there's a bomb and there's a countdown, and hopefully someone diffuses it by the last page. But it's not timed per page, and it's not timed per page in the whole way. And the closest analogy would be that famous TV show where the anti-terrorist guy's running around, and every second of the TV show is a real second in the story, and even when you go to commercial, he's like still running around.
Right.
Danny, are there places before we sign off? Are there places that people can find you on the internet or their phones?
On social media, on Instagram and Facebook.
Okay, that's Dani Strips, DANI STRIPS.
Yes.
Okay,
that's correct.
And if someone wants to buy some artwork from you, they should go to what was it? Kinetic
Collectibles, yeah.
KineticCollectibles.com.
And so, if people want to see more from you, I guess they can, check out some of your previous work, like Coffin Bound and Arkham City or the Low Woods. But there's not been so much interior work for the last little while because you've been working on a big project.
Yeah, which is it's finished after nearly 2 years. And 2025, I'm going to show some stuff. So finally, people are going to see what I've been working on.
Okay. Are you keeping it a secret? Because I think I know what it is, but
you do? Well, it's going to.
Shall I say what I think it is, and then we'll cut it out?
Okay, let's go for it.
So what I found was that.
Okay, cutting back in.
Where are we?
All of these works, Coffin Bound, Low Woods, and Arkham City, the World. These are all, listeners, these are all in print right now. Your comic book store can order these from Simon & Schuster, and from Penguin Random House and presumably Lunar and Image right now, Diamond right now does have volume 1 of Coffin Bound, but not volume 2. So you can go to your local. Diamond doesn't carry old Image anymore. When Diamond sells out, they don't restock it because Image signed with Simon and Schuster.
Okay.
So that's
no-
okay.
Okay.
But volume 2 is at Simon and Schuster.
Okay.
A different distributor. So listeners, you can go get these other books if these 20 pages drawn by Danny were not enough for you.
Indeed. And look out for the mysterious new project to be announced very soon.
Danny, thank you so much for spending so long with us today and talking about this cool, different, exciting G.I. Joe issue. We look forward to your next projects, big and small, and we hope you can find some time if editors come knocking on your door to return to the world of G.I. Joe.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for having me. It was a great time. I had a great time. Good
Fantastic.
Saturday night. Yes. Great one. Thank you for letting me smoke. Kids don't smoke. Yes, and I would get back to GI Joe. I mean, I would never expect me to do GI Joe. I'm telling you, I'm not into this stuff. But I really, I'm honest. But I really enjoyed it. So
Fantastic.
it was an experience.
So as we wrap up, Tim, where can you be found when you're not talking to me and guests about all things G.I. Joe?
Video essays on television and film at YouTube at Atomic Abe. I own a brick and mortar comic book store near Boston, Hub Comics, and I write about G.I. Joe at my blog, arealamericanbook.com.
Fantastic. And if you are new to Talking Joe, you can find us and the links to all of the places that we are at via our website, talkingjoe.co.uk. We are also on Patreon, patreon.com/talkingjoe. So a big thanks to Richard, Sam, Bill, Christopher, Justin, Rob, Shane, Simon, Chris, Joe, Craig, Frank, Mike, D, Shane, and Infinite Entertainment. I could do that within 20 seconds. Who are getting early access to what we do, as well as all sorts of extras. Excellent. So I think that we are pretty much done. But before we go, Tim, can you just remind us of something very important?
Nobody Beats Talking Joe, an international podcast.
Fantastic. All right. Laters.